Every farmer has a story that deserves to be heard. And we are here to listen. Growing together. Corteva Biologicals.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. Also, big shout out to everybody listening out there, of course, on the RealAg Radio podcast. It's been a very busy week. I really appreciate Lindsay Smith filling in and hosting the show Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. I was in Washington, D.C., had a great time. You heard some of the content already. We had the CEO of NOPA on the show yesterday, and I got a whole bunch of more interviews and stuff that's going to be posted at RealAgriculture.com. And we'll work some of those interviews as well into next week's show as much as we can for sure. Today, broadcasting from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and here for some college baseball, taking that in, enjoying it, the NSIC Conference Baseball Tournament, and, everybody's favorite, Mary Marauders, they lost their first game. We'll see what happens in Game 2 today. Win or go home. Win or go home. Today's show is brought to you by Corteva Biologicals. We're growing together. To learn more, visit biologicals.corteva.ca. Big shout out to Corteva and the Biological Group for being the sponsor of today's Farmer Rapid Fire. Really do appreciate it. Make sure for this 2025 season, if you are thinking about biologicals, you look at the Corteva portfolio. Today on the show, speaking of Corteva, we've got Tammy Jones, who's the Corteva Biologicals product manager. She'll be with us here today. We got Aaron Stevanus from Ontario. We got Cherilyn Nagel from Saskatchewan. Lee Markert is from Alberta. And Chris Moore is from Kinburn, Ontario. Now, if you have any feedback on today's show, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. And we start off this week's Farmer Rapid Fire in Bloomingdale, Ontario. We're talking to Aaron Stevanus. Hey, Aaron, how we doing?
Well, can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Okay, so are we got some seed in the ground?
Oh, well, I've been delivering seed, so I was about to start planting, and I got rained out last week. We got a big thunderstorm that rolled through here, and it was a little scary. I was in the tractor, but a couple limbs down, but we kept power. But our neighbors to the east of us in Maryhill weren't so lucky, and little parts of Guelph didn't have power either. So, it's been a big bit of a halt, but hopefully tomorrow we'll get rolling again.
Okay, that's good. And what are you starting with, corn or beans?
It'll be corn. Got to get some not only field corn but sweet corn in the ground. Okay,
and I guess how are conditions? Like, are you feeling pretty good once you get started here?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to know what? So I haven't started once again because I was delivering seed, but lots of people in our area have got started. The ground is people who are working up really well. There wasn't a lot of frost in the ground because of the snow load we had. So we really, the moisture just went straight down because there was no frost. And so we just had good cycling of moisture through the soil. And it's working up really nice and planting really nice. I'm going to guess, I bet you there's 20, maybe even 30% corn. There's a couple of small guys that are done around here. It's moving along nicely, and we'll get a nice push here end of the week and beginning of next, and that'll move the needle even further.
Was it last year that the soil wasn't working up very well?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that was the case. We had frost, a little bit of frost, but we didn't have the snow load we had last year in this area anyway. And so, yeah, it wasn't working up nice because it was just kind of kept on being waterlogged, but it's working up really nice this year.
Okay, so you're sounding pretty agronomically. You're sounding pretty optimistic right now.
So, I mean, hey, this is the best time of year. That's when everything's going in spades, as long as it's not you're raining too much. I was agronomically before we got the rains locally. Now I should be careful because just a bit north of us, like Drayton area, they missed some of these rains, so they're drier and they're going still probably right now. But I was getting worried around here that it was almost going to get too dry. We'd start burying seed a little deeper to get proper emergence because, soybeans, for example, they take on half their weight in water to germinate. So especially soybeans, we'd have to start burying them a little deeper seed depth-wise to get to moisture, which is always, not the most ideal conditions. But in this area where we got the rain, we can go back to that inch and a half for soybean depth and be happy and full into moisture with that as we start rolling again.
Okay, so that's agronomically. How about when you put your business, your farm CEO hat on? How does that shake out?
Well, it's there's lots of variables obviously right now. I like to stay optimistic, with tariffs and stuff like that, knowing what's going to happen play out. Obviously, Western Canada is a different story with the canola side of things, but with corn and soybeans. Prices were rallying a bit, now starting to come back. So, I always say my agronomic hat and my business hat match. Like, if we can get crops into good conditions and we can push yields economically, I think there'll be maybe less of the extras that we were putting on in the past put on this year. But, putting on proper balanced crop nutrition and feeding the proper amount of nitrogen at the right time, at the right rate in the right place is going to, I think, as always, pay dividends as long as we get Mother Nature providing us some rain and heat.
Yeah, I need Mother Nature to come through, and there is so many different variables to that statement. I know for, depending on where people are, what they're hoping for at any given time of the year, but we just try to do everything we possibly can as best, make the best decisions possible and hope that Mother Nature comes through and does what she needs to do in order to give us and deliver those conditions because timing is everything. That's really the key. No matter what, if it's stuff that we're doing ourselves as farmers or Mother Nature variables, timing is so key.
Yeah. Well, and I guess to me, the business part is everything's going well right now in general in my little bubble of an area. And so the best we can get it in, we have good planting conditions. There's not going to be any sidewall compaction. We have ability to put fertilizer on at good times and good conditions. So, that means grabbing as much yield as we can in the decisions we can now. And besides that, I guess it's throwing in some resting orders for local elevator if you're going to a local elevator, or if you have your own elevator and you got a contract, forward contract with one of your end use business partners, is to maybe have some resting orders in, because I just remember Steve Cal always says some of the best crop prices that we get are when we're in the planter and not looking. So there's nothing wrong with a resting order if it hits it. You got a portion of your crop price at a place where you want it at.
Yeah. Well, you brought up the tariffs. How do you think? Did you see any of the coverage or any of the footage of Prime Minister Carney at the White House? How do you think you did?
Well, you want to know what? To not totally get into politics, I was obviously not happy with the election results, but I was very happy with how he handled himself with President Trump. He handled him well. He was very professional. He did all the things you feel like a prime minister needs to do when talking with Trump. To me, he checked all the boxes. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, it could have gone a lot worse. I think the worst case scenario, as I described to a lot of people, he didn't, and actually in a joking manner, President Trump actually joked about it, about, somebody was here earlier at the White House and that didn't go so good. This is a friendly meeting, right? And obviously talking about the Zelensky situation, he didn't get Zelenskied. I thought actually I'm right there with you. I'm willing to say as well. I thought it went about as good as it possibly could.
Yeah, and I would. This is from Doomberg, so I can't take the credit for it. But his comment was right from the beginning. Trump called Carney Prime Minister Carney, not the governor of the 51st state, and that is in his opinion, that was a big thing of respect. So that's a positive thing as well.
Yeah, it also referred to him, and he has in prior descriptions of Carney also described him as, it said Mark. I don't know if there's any other, to be honest with you, any other leader that President Trump has referred to by first name. And I some may say, well, that's disrespectful. I heard somebody say that on the radio this morning, and I kind of disagree. I think you should look at it from more of a positive end. But yeah, what else are you keeping your eye on right now? You mentioned some of the prices and some of the resting orders. It has been a little bit of a difficult time to try to figure out some of the marketing plan. We saw this in our Canadian Farmer Sentiment Index. When it comes to confidence in your marketing plan, there was some weakness. We're definitely more on the negative side, but I think that's understandable because there's been a lot to try to sort out. I can understand why people feel a little bit shaky in regards to their marketing plan.
Yeah, and here's the thing where I'm, and maybe it's I am optimistic. In the sense of some of these things that are shaking up in the world. I just remember it from when I was with Mosaic on the fertilizer side, is that trade flows always they may change and it may be abrupt hard stop, but they always readjust and realign. So, let's say, for example, China's buying Brazilian soybeans and corn instead of from America. Well, the Brazilians were selling to someone else. So how do those trade routes shift? There's talks about, soybeans going to India from the U.S. So, we're in that kind of in between of finding those new routes. So it always happens. It's just a matter of when and also cost, because there's always obviously freight cost that gets put into that changes the price. So that's the thing that's up in the air. But I'm optimistic in the sense of we'll find places for our grain. It's just hopefully it's at the right price.
Yeah, well put, my friend. Well put. Hey, Aaron, thanks a lot for joining us here today in the Farmer Rapid Fire. All the best getting your planting started, okay?
Hey, awesome. Thanks a lot, Shaun. Appreciate it.
Hey, we got more of the Farmer Rapid Fire coming up here, brought to you by Corteva Biologicals. Time for a product spotlight with Nutrient Ag Solutions. Joined right now by Rob Clayton, the Senior Vice President of North American Retail. Margins are tight in the cropping sector. It's one of those years where let's get to the other side of it. Live to fight another day, so to speak. You've also got some financial support services or products that you offer your customers as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really about being one partner and all in, as we say. We like to think of ourselves as the organisation that you come to for all of your farming needs, including the in-crop financing. And Nutrient's invested about $3.5 billion into a financing program for our growers so that they can get the products when they agronomically need them, not when their cash flow allows. It's a really important part of farming in North America, and particularly while we've got compressed crop prices.
If somebody wants more information, obviously in a lot of the local communities there is a Nutrient store, but are there other ways to reach out?
NutrientAgSolutions.com is a good way. There's lots of different ways you can contact our people, but really the best way, go into your local store, meet the local people and see what they got to offer.
Peter Johnson at Wheat Pete, RealAgriculture.com, and what an opportunity! Oh my gosh! You think you can't grow better wheat? You are absolutely wrong. We're going to show you how to strive for those record wheat yields that they get in the UK and in New Zealand. You can grow 150 bushel wheat. I'll show you how.
Catch Wheat Pete's Word every Wednesday on RealAgriculture.com or download the podcast on iTunes or Spotify. And welcome back to RealAg Radio for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Biologicals. And we're joined right now by Chris Moore, coming out of Kinburn, Ontario. Hey, how are we doing today, Chris?
Not so bad. Yourself, Mr. Haney?
Yeah, how are things on the farm?
Not so bad. It's hard to complain right now. We're getting some pretty good weather. The sheep are doing well. The grass is growing. The coyotes aren't bad. We have really good dogs. We have really good people working with us, so it's hard to complain. I don't feel much like a farmer these days.
I heard the humidity's a little higher there this week.
Yeah, my back hair is real fuzzy.
it's
I don't have any on top, so
it's split up top, is what you're saying?
yeah. Mm-hmm. Parted down the middle for quite a piece.
Yeah. So I guess, what are you cheering for right now? Are you because you're grazing a lot of sheep, so are you hoping for some more moisture right now, or are you feeling you're sitting pretty good?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure. Lambing is due to start Saturday the 10th, and so we wanted kind of, 20 degrees and sunny, I guess, and not too much rain, but we want some moisture to keep the grass growing. So it's a sheep farm.
And how long will lambing take on your operation?
Way too long. Okay. Ideally, it's 48 days, I guess.
Oh, it's that long?
Yeah. I think 22 cycles of 21 days, and some of the ewes are going to be a little bit longer than that, I guess. Okay,
so at the end of it, in 48, 50 days, what does a successful lambing season look like?
Yeah, I can't tell you that till September, October.
Okay, well, what would be the factors in September, October?
We had good grass growth, low mortality. That's a great question. I should probably put more effort into figuring that out sooner.
Okay,
you call.
Okay, well, what does? Okay, so maybe we're focused too much on the what can go wrong sometimes. I would assume that a bad lambing season is bad weather.
You're going to get an abortion storm, and you're going to have 90% mortality of your lambs, maybe 10% mortality of your ewes trying to give birth to dead lambs.
It can be that. Those numbers can be that high.
Yeah, and no production insurance for it.
There's no production insurance, really?
Nope. No, we have risk management program here in Ontario, which is a fantastic program, and we are very lucky to have it. And we have some really good people that have worked hard to create that and keep it going, and we are very thankful for that. But we have no production insurance like canola growers or soybean, corn, wheat, where, you've built a production system, you're building your budgets on that, and, working forward to that. And where, we could get a snowstorm our first week into lambing and just decimate us.
Yeah, sheep they're not known to be the most weather resilient. Is that a good way to put that?
I think on a lot of farms that's very true. We've worked really hard the last couple of years to kind of build tougher sheep, and our sheep never see a barn all year except for just before shearing and stuff like that. So I would say our sheep are built for life in Canada and can take a lot of harsh environment. And we purposely lamb in May because it's what's your perfect date? April 28th. But that person was down in the States, where I think we're closer to May 10th here in Canada, where it's a nice light jacket is kind of ideal.
Yeah.
That we want, we don't want it too warm that lambs are panting because they're too hot, but we don't want them freezing either.
So I was just going to ask you about the heat. So a lot of times we focus on the cool weather and the impact that can have on livestock. How when you get to the dog days of July, what do you see in terms of grazing and some other activity? Or do they just go real docile?
Yeah. Traditionally, I would say yes, but since we started solar grazing, we always have that shade available. So we have our cool season grasses staying productive later in the season than they normally would in a lot of different situations. So we're still seeing pretty good daily intakes, and we always have shade available for our animals. It can be a little challenging for our smaller lambs to move into that thick, heavy, dense vegetation. But yeah, we we want to keep them cool. Our water intakes definitely increase. So that can be a bit of a challenge, making sure they always have enough water.
That makes sense for sure across the livestock spectrum. You know, and is the lamb price still pretty strong? Like, we had Jay Lewis on probably 4-6 weeks ago, maybe. And
yeah, Jay Lewis is a goofer. He's always goofing around. Jay, grow corn and canola, beans, wheat. That's what people should be focused on, not sheep. Jay's always goofing around. That guy.
I see what you're up to. I was giving Lindsay a hard time about this, about how she was sandbagging on this whole sheep thing. I just got to get the truth out of Jay Lewis, and he's the truth teller when it comes to the sheep, apparently.
No, he's a goofer. That guy's a goofer from way back. No, it's livestock. It's a lot of like work, and there's a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong. And I hope the longer you stay at it, the easier it gets. But yeah. We don't have a lot of sheep is definitely one of those businesses in Canada that if it's meant to be, it's up to me kind of thing, where a lot of places have a lot more like backbone to the industry. I think of some of the countries out there, like Australia's running 40 million sheep, and I think Spain's running 18 million, and Iceland has more sheep than all of Canada.
Wow.
So, like, we're not it's a bit of a cottage industry without being a cottage industry.
Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. That makes sense for sure.
We're trying to grow up, and it's not always easy.
And it takes time. And I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like I look at Hemp Canada, like the Hemp Growers of Canada became a recognized national lobby group here last week.
Yeah.
And sheep still doesn't actually have that.
Which is crazy. That I would have guessed that they did. Like that, probably a lot of people don't know.
A lot of people actually think they do. We have a national organization that administers government programs, but not a national organization that speaks for producers.
That might help out in the whole production insurance thing, just saying.
Yeah, get us caught up.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to make sure I get this in. We had the Prime Minister at the White House. Curious, how do you think, did you follow along how that visit all went? What'd you think?
I saw it. I'll tell you in 4 years.
Okay, well hey, you know what? Probably that's a good way to judge the whole thing, how this is all going to go. Yeah.
I'm not good at that kind of stuff. I try and pay attention as best I can, but I realize that's not my background, not my expertise, and I'll sit and wait for judgment if that's okay.
That is absolutely fine. Hey, well, Chris, hey, really appreciate you joining us here today on the Farm Rapid Fire. I know lambing is starting next week, so all the best to you, and good luck with it. And I know it's a stressful time, but it takes some time to enjoy it as well. It's a good time.
Yeah, I'm listening to a lot of Creed right now. Trying to get ready for it.
Nothing gets you primed up for something like Creed. Yeah.
You got it.
90s rock, baby. Hey, Chris, we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks.
We'll be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Biologicals right after this.
Every successful harvest story begins with the right seed. And at Alliance Seed, we're committed to helping you achieve success every year. Our top-performing wheat, barley, oat, pea, and lentil varieties are tailored to meet the unique challenges of your farm, ensuring high yields, strong standability, and reliable disease resistance. Discover the Alliance difference at allianceseed.com or call 1-877-270-2890.
Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomists, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomists with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio. We now take the Farmer Rapid Fire to Mossbank, Saskatchewan. We're talking to Cherilyn Nagel. Hey, Cherilyn, how are we doing?
Hi, Shaun. Really good, actually. I'm desperately trying to stay out of the wind today, so having a call with you today was just perfect timing.
I am so glad I could be of service and to help you. How are you making out in the fields?
Oh, things are coming along really good. We have a real good start on seeding. We're well past the halfway mark, really 2/3, I would venture, I guess. We're 2/3 done now. So we're going to switch from lentils to durum. We should be wrapping that up tonight or tomorrow. So It's been really good so far.
Yeah.
No major breakdowns. Everybody seems pretty happy. Everybody's healthy. And, yeah, the weather's been decent as well. So I really can't complain.
You know, a seeding season without any family blow-ups, that's pretty good.
So far, we are doing really well. I was actually excluding family blow-ups and just thinking about, in the field. But I would suggest we've done really good on the family side, too. And both of the girls, Claire and Addison, and they are working full-time in the field, just really putting in the hours this year. We really needed them. And even with them, things have gone along really smooth. Nice. Awesome.
That's the rewarding part about, I think, farming and ranching is when everybody gets to the age where everybody is really kind of contributing in their own way, large or small, whatever that looks like. There's got to be some pretty proud moments, you and David.
Every single day. And I'm not even joking about that. I'm so proud of them, what they've been able to do, the hours that they put in, their work ethic. It's really fantastic. We have an awesome crew here, the girls included. And I would I'm very, very grateful. Everybody is putting in the hours, putting in the time, lots of hard work, and they're doing just exceptionally good. Addison was out there on the sprayer last night till really late. She knew that we were going to have wind coming today, and we just had to get done. She happened to be working on the field with the most power poles, so she had a full appreciation for the inefficiency of going around power poles while she was trying to be in a hurry to wrap it up. But, yeah, she managed to do that really well, and Claire's been jumping back and forth from one piece of equipment to the other, including the drill this year. That's something new for her, and they both just seem to tackle everything that we throw at them. So, yeah, I couldn't be more proud.
Good stuff. Hey, what's the moisture situation like?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I was talking to David this morning saying, hey, I'm going to have a visit with Shaun today. He's going to ask me, what's going on, what's new on the farm. And to quote him exactly, the new thing on this farm this year is we are seeding into moisture. So we're feeling pretty good.
That's a great change.
Yeah, 8 years we've had of drought, and we're definitely going to need, more rain throughout the season. We don't have enough subsoil moisture to get us through, but yeah, things are looking really good. We are seeding into some moisture. There's no sloughs around, so it's hard to get anybody to believe that we do have moisture because you should see some sloughs, but it all soaked in. We're feeling pretty good, and yeah, there is some moisture in there, so yeah, things are looking up.
Okay. And, I know you like to follow the politics of the day, so I got to make sure I get this in here before we run out of time. What did you think of Prime Minister Carney's trip to the White House this week?
Yes, I did sit in the truck and listen to most of that, what I could. I was in and out of the truck a bunch that day, but, I can't really complain, to be honest. I was sitting, waiting for any sort of big blow up or any sort of surprises. No big surprises. I thought when he did step in, it was appropriate. The president steals the show. But for the most part, he stepped in when it felt appropriate. He didn't seem to too panicky, not a lot of drama. I haven't paid enough attention to find out what kind of reporting came out after the actual meeting, past the scrum to the actual meeting. So I'm a bit behind to find out if there was any big surprises that came out of that. But I, just shrugged my shoulders and think nothing major happened. So that's a bonus.
Yeah, no, I think you've described it pretty well. It was calmer than it could have been. So yeah, chalk it up and move on to the next step. So, any thoughts from the election the week before?
Oh, yeah, I was ready for something better. I sat down ready to really take it all in, ready for some nail biting, and I don't know how long it took. 30 minutes after the polls closed over there and they called the election. That is it's so disheartening, makes me angry. But I don't know what to say. We're in it now. We got to figure our way through this. I'm very interested. I really enjoy listening to Premier Smith over in Alberta there to see what kind of things are at play. I think our premier's handling things well. And I keep coming back. My absolute favorite Canadian band is Doug and the Slugs. And the best song Doug and the Slugs has is Day by Day. And I have set that as my alarm to wake up to every morning. And that is my view on Canadian politics for the moment. Day by Day.
Favorite Canadian band is Doug and the Slugs.
Yes. I'll put it out there. I'll put it out there.
Wow.
Doug and the Slugs, Day by Day. You listen to it. Are you familiar? Do you know it?
No, I probably am if I heard it. But it's okay. Not. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, you're welcome. Send me a message later because you're gonna love it.
Oh, good stuff. What else has happened on the farm right now? We were talking about some of the agronomics. How about from the business standpoint? How are you looking at this year?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. Cautiously optimistic. Trade, just is one of those files I thoroughly enjoy watching, participating in, listening to. I'm still very curious to see how our new Prime Minister manages China and canola and how that's all going to shake. But I'm also just really grateful for the time of year because I feel like we have a lot of time between now and when we need to sell this. I'm not sure how many people are trying to forward sell, what they're doing right now. But we have a bit of time, to wait. And when it first came out, we contemplated, what's going to happen for canola? Do we have to start taking this out of the rotation? What's that going to look like? We played, a ridiculous game called Should We Seed Mustard? That didn't last very long. And as it shook out, for us and for almost every other farmer that I know in the area, it didn't change our seeding plans. We continued to plant canola. We're feeling like so that to me is an indication that there's still some time that we can sort out that issue. China's come and gone and done this so many times. Maybe we're just, getting a bit complacent about it. It just happens so often that we're shrugging our shoulders. I'm still worried about it, but I still think that there's time for that to sort itself out before harvest.
How's the Nuffield Scholarship going?
I am packing as we speak. I leave on Tuesday of next week, and I'm nervous about that. We won't quite have wrapped up seeding, so I feel a tremendous amount of guilt, bigger than my suitcase. It's not coming from my family. It's just for me. I really wanted to leave once we had wrapped everything up, but that won't be the case. So, yeah, I leave on Tuesday. I'll be gone for 7 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big, long stretch, this one. I'll be traveling with a group of other Nuffield scholars. We're all studying something very different. I wanted to ask you, maybe we'll have to throw it into the Farmer Sentiment Index. I would love to know what farmers' thoughts are around the Nuffield study topic that I chose, which is, the impacts to farmland on renewable energy infrastructure. So what are those wind turbines going to do to farmland over time? What are the solar panel farms going to do to farmland over time? I'm super interested to hear what other farmers think about that.
Yeah, that's something we should definitely look at. We'll talk about that offline. That's a very interesting one. We're in those 7 weeks. Where are you headed? What countries?
Yeah, okay. I'm headed to Singapore first, and then Taiwan, Zimbabwe, Poland, Romania, then over to South America for Chile and Uruguay. Probably most excited at the moment for Uruguay. It was really at the top of the list of countries I wanted to go to study the impact of farmland on renewable energy. Uruguay, one, has broadacre farming, large land use for agriculture, a lot of the same crops that we grow. They don't have a winter climate, which is one caveat, but Uruguay has gone from almost zero renewable energy to 90% renewable energy in 10 years. And I just think that has had to have some sort of impact on the farmers. So I'm curious to know what that might look like. For me, with the federal election results, it tells me that Saskatchewan is not going to be able to set aside renewable energy. We are still going to have to consider this. Small modular nuclear reactors are definitely going to be in the mix, but that's a long ways away and it costs a lot of money. So if we have to consider intermittent power like wind and solar, I want to know. I want farmers to know what impact that's going to have on their farmland. So
positive or negative, right? Like don't just take it as oh, it's a negative. It could very well be like, here are some of the positives that are happening too, right?
You're right, and I am trying to stay very open-minded about it, and I have had a chance to meet a lot of farmers who do have this infrastructure on their land, and the extra revenue continuously comes up as one of those positive things that they look at. So I hate to say that it's all about the money, but it might be, and if it is, I can't say that that's not something worth considering. So
you're a capitalist at heart. You're a capitalist at heart. Hey,
I
Cherilyn.
do have some land that I don't particularly love, so maybe.
Hey, all the best to you on your trip. That sounds terribly exciting. I'm exceptionally jealous. I can't wait to hear about some of your travels along the way. So congratulations on the Nuffield Scholarship and represent very well. I know you will.
Thanks a lot for that, Shaun. I appreciate it. I will do some posting about it, but yeah, curious if anybody listening has thoughts about it. Please just reach out. I'm just interested to know what other people think. And
also, David, don't screw things up while you're gone, right?
He's got things handled so well. I couldn't have done this any other time. I think I talked to you about it 10 years ago. I wanted to do this. But they've got this, and they're going to do really well, even with me halfway across the world.
Yeah, well, I'm sure David and the girls they're going to do just fine. Hey, Cherilyn, look forward to chatting when you get back. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back on RealAg Radio. Of course, the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Corteva Biologicals. Every farmer defines success differently. And every farm has its own unique challenges. Corteva Biologicals is partnering with Canadian farmers for their success, offering unique solutions that improve and protect crops from start to finish, based on each field's needs. Using proven, predictable solutions across all crop stages, Corteva Biologicals helps build healthy, productive, and profitable farms. Corteva Biologicals, we're growing together.
It's summertime, and you've got a lot of important decisions to make when it comes to your corn crop. Let the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com help guide you through those big decisions with input from leading experts in the field. If it's spray timing, disease identification, or any other field issue, the Corn School's got you covered. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
Up next on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Biologicals, we're going to go to Vulcan, Alberta, and it's the home of Spock, but also the home of Lee Markert. Hey, Lee, how we doing?
Not so bad, Shaun. How are you?
Pretty good. Well, and I'm not lying. There's like the Star Trek Enterprise is in Vulcan. It's right there, right on Main Street.
It's ever present. It's not hard to remember that it's there. That's for sure.
Do they still call it Spock Days during the summer?
They do, yeah. That's it's kind of like our homecoming, eh? That's the second weekend of June, I think. But
nice.
Conveniently, I seem to find myself busy most of the time when it comes around. So,
are you wrapped up seeding?
No, we're about 3/4 of the way done, Shaun.
How are the conditions?
They're decreased, or they're getting worse, but they're okay at the moment. We're still seeding into decent moisture, but it's been a while since our last moisture event. We just switched to canola here in the last day, and so of course, whenever you do that, it becomes you're ever more aware of what the conditions are like, especially in that top half inch. But I think we'll be okay for the next week or so, but certainly looking forward in the forecast for something wet.
Yeah, are you having to seed that canola a little bit deeper to get it to moisture, or are you still able to put it in that top profile?
Yeah, we're still in that top profile, certainly on the end of the spectrum of it, but yeah, it's starting to dry up on top a little bit. And yeah, we'll just, the old adage, seeded in dust. Well, hopefully the bins will bust. But yeah, we certainly could use a bit of a top up here in the next 2 weeks or so. Yeah,
we're definitely cheering for the bins to bust over the income statement to bust. That's
yeah. Yeah, nobody wants that.
Yeah. It's interesting, but we're into the beginning of May here, and we can't rule out, and we're really cheering, we could really use one of those freak, wet, heavy snowstorms that sometimes we can get in May.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't turn that away for a second.
Yeah. What else is in the rotation?
Peas, barley, red spring, and soft white makes up the balance of this year's crop. Don't have any oats in, or any flax, or any lentils this time around. Just kind of the way things worked out. So it's pretty ordinary rotation by all accounts. But yeah, we're trying a few new varieties of different things, so that kind of keeps things interesting, and doing some trials and everything else. But it's pretty generic rotation as far as Southern Alberta is concerned right now.
Was there a real hot seller this spring? Because you just so everybody knows, Lee and his family are longtime seed growers. So what was hot this spring?
So soft white wheat was in pretty high demand, it seemed like, and generally a lot of the soft white wheat that we service goes through a chopper as opposed to a combine. But and maybe that's largely due to the geography we're working in with feedlots ever present around us, kind of thing. But I do know some of it was going to go to grain, so I'm not totally abreast to what the marketing plan is there. But yes, I certainly could have used another bin or two of soft white wheat. Beyond that, the soft lie thing has certainly been a point of conversation for the last number of years now. But and in the absence of any real remedy to that, we're just kind of trying to use the best options we have in front of us, which, like I say, there hasn't been a true solid stem variety since you were growing seed, I don't think, Shaun. So
seriously, there hasn't been a new one since? So what are we using?
So like CDC Landmark and CDC Adamant are kind of the two that bubble to the top, although they are characterized as a semi-solid stem, and those characteristics don't necessarily present themselves in every situation. You need certain amount of help from Mother Nature, as we do with a lot of things. But so it's by no means a silver bullet, either of those varieties, but it was kind of the best thing we had to work with at this time. Moving forward, there's been some developments in solid stem breeding in Durham varieties, which has been a real boon. And ahead of next year, we've got a new variety called AAC Oakman, which is characterized as a solid stem variety that there should be ample supply of next fall. So we're hoping that can kind of bridge the gap between this soft fly problem and not having to swath as much as, we've obviously all gotten used to parking the swather in the corner of the field and not looking at it for years. And I don't think there's a lot of operators that want to go back to knocking their wheat down every year. So hopefully varieties like Oakman, and hopefully it's the first of several to come along to kind of help us manage that pest. So
is the cycle really bad right now for softfly?
Yeah, well, it always seems to present itself more so in drought conditions, right? And so last year, obviously the way the summer went, it sure seemed like a drought But with the moisture we had leading up to that, depending on where you were farming, it seemed like you managed to get away with a pretty reasonable stand, and that can be the best remedy against sawfly, is just a good stand, right? So last year there certainly was some evidence of it around, but the year previous it was really bad in places, and of course everybody's sort of, or a lot of the time, your strategy going forward is based on what you see in the rearview mirror, and so after 23's crop came off, that was certainly a priority for a lot of people, was how to manage sawfly. And then again, like say after 24's crop, it was obvious that they were still around, but they didn't have quite the impact necessarily. And again, that's geographically specific, but yeah, there's certainly a concern going forward that they're back, or they're back for until we can kind of break this drought cycle we're in. So.
Yeah, we've got a pest and predator podcast. There's a wasp that's a beneficial insect to that is a predator, or it's a parasitic wasp, I believe, that goes after sawfly. So everybody check out. I wish I had that episode number. I didn't know we were going to talk about this. So there's an episode number, and I just go through the pest and predator podcast. It's a really interesting one. I think it was with Tyler Wist out of Saskatoon. Okay, so I guess from a weed perspective, because we're going to be in crop here before you know it, what's the biggest problem weed? Would it be resistant kochia?
Certainly, kochia seems to take up a lot of conversation. Yeah, resistant wild oats seem to we're certainly not getting any more control as the years go by than we were. Beyond that, those are certainly the ones that stand out, right? Especially when you're looking at crops in the summertime. So it seems, at least, and when you're making plans for application, I had a conversation with my retail the other day about weed spectrum, and I was asking him what I should be applying, and I left kochia off the list, and he sort of said, "So there's no kochia out there?" And I sort of did the hands to the face emoji, and we don't want to leave kochia off the list either. So it's certainly the one that I guess the thing for me specifically, for a long time, we never had to worry about kochia much at all, let alone resistant kochia, and it's just sort of been creeping its way north and west for the last number of years. And now you've got kochia in places you never did before. And it used to be, you either had to manage, sow thistle and Canada thistle and buckwheat and cleavers, or kochia and flicksweed and stinkweed, etc. Now you're managing kochia and Canada thistle in the same field, which is certainly, you need a new playbook to do something like that. So,
hey, Lee, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shaun. Have a good day.
Hey, we'll be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Biologicals, right after this.
At Vaterstad, we aim to be the world's leading partner for outstanding emergence. We're doing that through innovative tillage, planting, and seeding equipment that's optimized for your field conditions and soil types. We also offer industry-leading capacities to help you get the job done in shorter windows of time. It's all designed to give your crop the best start possible so you can maximize yields. Vaterstad, we look forward to growing together.
How's your seed quality? What should you treat with? What about herbicide carryover and environmental concerns? Spring is here, and you've got a lot of things to think about in regards to your pulse crop. The Pulse School on Real Agriculture has information and advice for all these questions and more to help you navigate this season. Brought to you by BASF. Pulse School episodes are available at pulseschool.com, realagriculture.com, or as a podcast on your favorite streaming service. Download the latest episode today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Of course, the Farmer Rapid Fire today brought to you by Corteva Biologicals. And we're joined right now by Tammy Jones. She's the Biological Product Manager for Corteva Canada. Tammy, it's great to have you back on the show.
Oh, Shaun, it's always nice to chat with you.
Okay, hey, seeding is well underway in the on the Western Canadian prairies. There's a lot of acres being put in. Now, a part of that is we're trying to be aggressive and get off to a really good start. Also, some somewhat dry conditions in some portions of the prairies. What have you been hearing from growers?
I can't believe how quick the switch flipped from, hey, I had snow on the ground to, hey, I need to get all the seed in the ground, because it has just been dramatic, and some really warm temperatures, but some massive amounts of progress. And in a lot of areas, really good seeding conditions. So we've gone into some moisture, and I'm feeling pretty optimistic. We've got some products on the seed already, so we've started the cycle, and now it's time to grow and then finish that crop.
And of course, getting that crop out as quickly and as evenly as possible is really one of those first things that we can do to help ourselves, at least keep ourselves on that optimum yield curve.
Absolutely. And when we've done that, so a couple of products that we have that help with that, something like a fortified stimulate yield enhancer on the seed can work. But if you skip that and you're starting to think, maybe it's going to dry up a little bit, we can use that product in a foliar application to really help enhance the growth of that crop, enhance that root development, so that maybe we are mitigating some of the stresses that are going to come along in the next little while. And it's interesting that we have that opportunity. We haven't necessarily considered that in the past.
Yeah. So what are exactly we doing to the plant that we're helping it deal with that stress? Like, if we use a human context, of course, there's things like exercise. There's, of course, substances. There's a lot of different stuff that people tend to do. What are you doing with the plant?
Okay, so we've done this before, where we have compared it to a human, and I'm not sure it always translates exactly the same way. But for instance, when we're applying something to the plant, we are enhancing the naturally occurring hormones that are within that plant, and making sure that it's reducing or upregulating the positive ones, right? So if we're talking auxins, gibberellic acids, and cytokinins, that we're making sure that those levels are where they need to be, and that we're minimizing the impact of the stress hormones like the ethylene and the abscisic acid. And it's all about balance. So depending on the set of stressors, we might use something different. So if we're looking at heat blast, we've talked about Excite in the past a little bit, cytokinin, what it's doing is ensuring that we have stomata that stay open on the plant. So kind of like sweating for humans, we have that transpiration happening, and that plant continues to grow. So if we've got moisture in the soil, the sweating happens, and that plant continues or starts to grow again more quickly. If we don't have moisture in the soil and we apply an Excite type product, we're just stressing that plant out more, and we don't want to go there. So it doesn't fit on every acre.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Is there anything we can do for some of the growers, or maybe a little bit of the drier areas? Anything we can do in terms of root development?
So one of the ones that I like for stress mitigation would be BioForge Premier. I'm going to go in a slightly different route and say, if the crop is stressed and we're kind of worried about maybe helping it through a herbicide application, which sometimes can make that crop flash a little bit, if we add in BioForge Premier, we can help, again, rebalance the hormones a little bit, enhance that ability to just chew through or metabolize the herbicide and regain their productivity. So kind of bounces back a little bit quicker. We see a little less flash, and it's dramatic. We can also use BioForge if we've had hail. Again, it can help with the root development as well. So can fortified stimulate yield enhancer.
So, after that herbicide application, get back to growing, right?
Get back to growing.
Yeah.
I love that.
But you can use that tagline if you want.
Shaun, I really appreciate your help with that.
Good stuff. Well, hey, Tammy, thanks so much for joining us here today on RealAg Radio. I really appreciate it, and look forward to our next chat.
Absolutely. Same to you, Shaun.
Great trip across Canada here on the Farmer Rapid Fire. And of course, make sure that you check out the Corteva Biologicals portfolio and appreciate them being the show sponsor here today. You just got to do that by going to biologicals.corteva.ca. Now, we heard from our farmers. If you want to provide your input, how are you making out there? What are your conditions like? Definitely some dry bias in parts of the prairies. And of course, in central and eastern Canada, there's always typically a little bit more moisture on most years, but there's always challenges. And we heard from Aaron Stevanus, a big weather event and slowed down planting on his farm. Would love to hear how you're making out on your farm, no matter where you are, Canada or the U.S. All you got to do is send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.